is a very important voice in various international forums and the United Nations. Is a strong defender of the Agenda 2030 and other international commitments such as, amongst others, the Framework for Climate Change. And I believe that today, themes leveraging partnerships to collectively respond to a national reset is very timely, because many of us have started new cooperation cycle last year with the new cooperation framework of the UN and also other partners such as USA, European Union, Canada, UK, amongst others. It's also, and most importantly, very timely because Dominica, as many countries in the regions and beyond, are still transitioning from the impact of COVID, dealing with a higher level of indebtedness, and now also facing the impact of the triple crisis on food, fuel, and finance, in addition to the structural vulnerability that all small island developing states face with regards to climate, natural disasters, and various external shocks. So I won't even mention the difficulties to access financing, which remain a critical issue for a country like Dominica, and all of which serve to threaten progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. Also putting the most vulnerable at risk in this context of being left further behind. And I know, Prime Minister, how dedicated you and your government are to mitigate this risk and to create the necessary safety net and livelihood opportunities for them. And that's why we're here also to support you. But this situation demands that stronger and more strategic partnerships before to maximize the impact of development assistance in support of your national priority to build resilience and recovery for the devastating 2017 hurricane. So we are here to discuss with the UN, multilateral development banks, development partners representing various countries, how we are placed not only to pursue with our important ongoing commitments, but also to renew them, to make them more effective, more coordinated, so that Dominica can access more and better in order to pursue its ambitious trajectory of a more resilient and greener country. Prime Minister, I must commend your leadership and the impressive progress that has been done on the road to resilience. I must also commend your drive towards renewable energy for your country, which is a critical element for resilience in cities. I want also to acknowledge your genuine interest and focus in building partnerships that matter for the people of Dominica. And it is against this backdrop that this meeting seeks to strengthen this existing, I would say, tripartite relationship amongst government, the United Nations, and the various development partners. Prime Minister, the United Nations and development partners are already working to move the needle on SDG 17 and partnerships precisely to unlock better the remaining 16 Sustainable Development Goals in support of Caribbean governments' resilience building agenda. For example, as a follow-up to the triple crisis on impact of cost of living, especially food and energy, the Triple Crisis Roundtable that was co-hosted by the United Nations and the Caribbean Development Bank last September in Barbados, where one of your cabinet members led the discussion on the issue of energy transition. We have recently, again last week, convened a multi-stakeholder engagement with the banks like CDB, World Bank, IDB, the European Investment Bank, partners like USA, EU, UK, Canada, and some UN agencies like UNDP, FAO, and UNEP to form a coalition to help governments in the region to scale up efforts towards, I would say, boosting renewable energy solutions. And that's an area where Dominica is on the lead already, for example, with geothermal. So I really invite everyone to join this important effort. I could also mention, for example, the UK and CDB partnering on the Caribbean Infrastructure Fund, which provide resources for critical economic infrastructure that will increase productivity and resilience and promote social cohesion. Or Global Affairs Canada that also announced the funding to UN Women and UNFPA to execute the Build Back Better, or Build Back equal project which aims to advance economic empowerment and equality for women and girls in 4 ECS countries, including Dominica. Or UNDP and USAID working together to further support Dominican security with the Carry Secure program. And of course, there are many more, and I can mention post-2017 hurricane, all the work that has been done by everyone around the table, and specifically investing in the CREED, headed by Ambassador Francine Barron, which contributes really to Dominica's vision to be the world's first climate-resilient nation. There are many more good examples that will be presented today by everyone around the table, and yet I think we need to ask ourselves some questions today. That's the purpose of bringing all of us together. And for example, is our partnership for development having the desired impact at scale? Because that's really what it is about, at scale, in order to change the lives of people. How can we help to ensure that the government essentially gets the best result for the development investment? These are critical questions that we have to explore today. And one of the potential outcomes we should aim for during this day includes rethinking the modality of engagement of our partnerships in order to scale up and raise to the ambitions of the challenges that exist. But in order to comprehensively address the needs of Dominica, various international financial institutions, the various development partners, and the UN have room also to enhance their collaborations amongst themselves. And unless we do this, we cannot say that we truly work together to support the acceleration towards the sustainable development goals for the 7 remaining years ahead of us. For example, being conscious about partnerships for the Agenda 2030 also means thinking of innovative financing for acceleration, associating private capital and private sector to invest in building resilience, such as investing in energy transition that is so crucial for the Caribbean. The UN and various multilateral banks are, for example, working together to de-risk projects for private sector investment, and the government further adjusting all over the region its regulatory framework to better enable private sector engagement. This is necessary if we want to have an impact and make a difference. Hearing from you, Prime Minister, and your government on the critical thematic areas that represent your priorities for Dominica's, I would say, renewed cooperation with its development partners and international partners. I also look forward to hearing from each of my fellow partners or representative of countries here, not only what they're currently doing, but also suggestions to maximize our collective impact and avoid the sometimes what is seen as inevitable implications of efforts. However, before we get into the substantive discussions, permit me to share briefly how the UN, under the UN Development System reform that all member states have voted in the General Assembly in 2018, how we have scaled up our support to 6. First, last year we have started our new UN multi-country sustainable development cooperation framework covering 22 countries in the Caribbean, and for each and every country we have extended a very tailored development support, which has resulted, for example, in Dominica in supporting national priority with an integrated country implementation plans, bringing all the UN entities together, and we have for now a little bit more than dozens of UN entities cooperating in Dominica. We have also expanded our physical presence in Dominica, as many other Eastern Caribbean countries, with coordination capacities, to a 4th country with more tailored policy support and more joint program of UN system entities working together with the support of the various development partners. And soon, hopefully, we would have the ambition to have a joint UN house in Dominica in order to scale up our partnerships with the country. So Prime Minister, ministers and colleagues, I believe that around this table we are all committed to providing more integrated programming, more collaboration, increasing our global advocacy for seeds so that we connect the global to local agenda, and of course supporting to the most necessary access to more affordable financing. So count on the UN to continue maximizing also its convening power to that effect. Today's session, I believe, will build on this foundation. So we look truly forward to very robust discussions today to help fast-track sustainable development in Dominica. Again, let me reiterate on behalf of the United Nations our gratitude for your presence, your whole presence, Prime Minister, the full presence of the government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tribuk. We can count on the UN to be there for us. At this time, I would like to call on our visionary leader, the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, to give us a few remarks. Honorable Rosemary Skerrit.
Thank you very much. I want to know in which language should I speak? Should I speak in French or Spanish or Creole or American? But good morning to all of you. Let me recognize our Minister for Finance and Economic Development, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, my other cabinet colleagues who are here, our dear friend, Mr. Didier Trek, the United Nations Resident Coordinator for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Dr. Renata Clark, the Sub-Regional Coordinator of the FAO, Dr. Addis King, who is our coordinator of all UN agencies and international NGOs, Your Excellencies, dear friends of the Diplomatic Corps present, representatives from the various development partners, Ms. Karen Privo, Secretary to the Cabinet, Ms. Dennis Edwards, Financial Secretary, Permanent Secretaries, other invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, friends all, good morning and welcome. I extend warm greetings and sincere welcome to our friends from partner countries and the various international development agencies who have journeyed here to discuss our existing partnerships and how these can be enhanced for the good of our people. Dominica is humbled and indeed grateful for the long-standing support and cooperation we enjoy in many areas of development. We see the evidence of the positive impact of your interventions on lives and livelihoods in communities across our island. In particular, since the passage of Hurricane Maria in 2017, several of you have helped us with relief, response, and recovery. You have assisted with implementing programs to promote sustainable development and provide support for Dominica's climate resilience initiatives, community-based tourism programs, and capacity building for government's various social welfare programs. We have also received valuable support to build resilient infrastructure, enhance disaster risk reduction capacity, and respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. But we can do more to strengthen our partnerships, streamline our interventions, and focus more specifically on areas of urgent need. Can we realign our objectives to tackle the most pressing matters of our time? Based on the objectives of this consultation, it is clear that you are aware of the need to prioritize key areas of development and to take more decisive action to bring meaningful change. I therefore welcome your overall goal to build synergy, collaborate more closely, and promote a common understanding for the more efficient selection and implementation of programs for Dominica. When we look ahead, we must be able to settle on strategies and interventions which do the greatest good for the greatest number of people in the shortest possible time. The extreme vulnerability of small island developing states to climate change impacts and external shocks continue to set back the pace of our development. Our small size and population, narrow asset base, and limited resources, as well as limited borrowing ability, are just some of the major persistent challenges which constrain our development. We understand and value our existing partnerships and the imperative to develop appropriate measures to diversify our economic base. As a people, all too well familiar with the devastating effects of severe weather events and the resulting social and economic fallout, we also know that decisive and meaningful action is necessary if we are to build resilience and protect the lives and livelihoods of our people. The reality is that our countries face the burden of high debt, primarily due to the cycle of continuously responding to climate-related disaster events and external economic disruptions over which we have little control. If you look at our debt profile, you'll recognize that 98% of our borrowing were to respond to natural disasters and external shocks. 98%. We have been a responsible government, and we needed to do what we had to do to provide for our families and our people after natural disasters and external shocks. And had it not been for these natural disasters and external shocks, I believe I can say safely that our debt to GDP ratio will be below 40%, because we were on our march to achieving this, but for the natural disasters. Over the past 3 years, our recovery efforts and development prospects were hampered by a global pandemic, which severely impacted our people's health and livelihoods. It compromised our food systems, employment prospects, and economic growth outlook. We, like many other Caribbean states, suffered significant loss of tourism revenue and were forced to redirect finances to the management of the health crisis. This meant reduced capacity to invest in infrastructure, agriculture, education, and social safety net programs. The ongoing Russia-Ukraine war continues to pose a threat to the economic fortunes of our small countries, as result in higher energy and food prices and trade disruptions are stretching our already stressed economies. We are, in short, operating in a tumultuous period defined by huge environmental and climate-related challenges, conflict, and economic uncertainty. These sobering realities of our times require urgent action. No longer can we afford to pay lip service to the issues of climate change or the restrictive access to development financing. We have country-specific work plans which will help us to build resilience to climate change, promote the well-being of all our citizens, and put us on the path to economic growth and development. Today's gathering is cause for optimism as we devise ways to tackle our common problems together. What recommendations can you make, acting individually and jointly, to secure assistance to countries like Dominica with greater speed and at the levels needed to combat the effects of natural disasters and address the fallout from frequent economic shocks? Allow me to highlight just a few areas which I think need our attention. I have spoken before of the urgent need for states to have better access to external financial support to address our most pressing social and economic challenges. The funds are available in foreign banks and institutions for drawdown, but the existing structures can be complex and very inefficient. It means that the assistance we do receive is not always timely and not always sufficient in effecting wide-ranging positive change. The rules, I will say, my dear friends, have been suspended to support Ukraine, but they were not suspended for Dominica when the war created by the climate change was unleashed upon us in Dominica. And we agree and support the suspending of the rules for Ukraine because they need the support. All we're saying is that the rules can be changed, and we're urging the development partners to change the rules so that small island states like ours can have equal access, quicker access, and more efficient access. And this is why we place great hope in the Barbados Initiative, which has explained in very detail how the process can be arrived at and concluded to the benefit of ours. Because the reality is, I don't think that we need more monies pledged. I think if we can access the monies that have been pledged, the world will be in a much better place and greater prosperity for all of us. And the Green Climate Fund, for example, developed specifically to assist developing countries to adapt and improve practices to counter climate change impacts, need to be more easily accessible. The procedures for access are too complex and unwielding for small states. Recognizing that the threat of climate change is ever present, we need to expedite access to available funds now, not later. We recognize the need to reduce our dependence on food imports and develop our own capacity to supply the needs of our people and enhance our food security and agricultural systems. And this is why we have set ourselves a very ambitious goal of allowing agriculture to contribute $700 million to our GDP by 2030. This is a very lofty goal. But I believe we can achieve this. To achieve this, we must facilitate the development of businesses and strengthen value chains through technology, financial innovation, diversification, and entrepreneurship. Collectively, we need to consider more targeted investments in regional manufacturing and processing facilities, and importantly, the development of maritime transport to move our produce around the region. This we have discussed at the CARICOM heads level, but I call on all of you here to place this matter of regional food security and agricultural development on your agenda for possible financing support. We continue to require external support in the form of investments in technology and technical skills and knowledge to drive the modernization of our systems. We are pushing towards digitalization and digital connectivity to support telework, e-commerce platforms, and financial services. And we have partnered on retooling some of our young people for the gig economy. This is an area where we can work together to continue to empower our people, especially our youth, to be full participants in the global economy. Our social safety net programs fall in line with the stated objective of many of your institutions, to leave no one behind. Across Dominica, we are cushioning vulnerable families, our elderly, women, and children from the impact of natural disasters and other crises through our various interventions. For example, the Yes We Care program, the National Employment Program, income and pension support for seniors, resilient housing. We are reducing poverty and providing a respectable and dignified quality of life for our citizens. We are also going to need support to deliver benefits and services in a timely and efficient manner to our vulnerable citizens. I thank you for the assistance we have received for these initiatives thus far and look forward to further cooperation to reduce the social and economic risk to our citizens. And of course, our heroic efforts with our renewable energy development, and more specifically, our geothermal energy development. I have no doubt that Dominica can be used as a case study with our concrete actions on building a resilient nation. How could a small country like ours, affected by a tropical storm in 2015, which affected 90% of our GDP. 2 years later, a most devastating hurricane, causing damage totaling 226% of our GDP. And 2 years later, an unrelenting COVID pandemic, and of course now the Russia-Ukraine war. And our country is still standing and smiling with a sense of pride and dignity. But we have also been able to achieve these objectives with your support, those of you in this room. I will say to you that my country, and myself personally as the leader of this country, owe you a sincere debt of gratitude for all of your support to us over the years. And I say to our citizens, it is not about the financial support that you're providing. It is largely because of your genuine care and concern. The intrinsic motivation just caused you to support us over these years. And without your support, our country would not be where it is today. Notwithstanding, we are still confronting those challenges. But we are an optimistic people. We are a people full of energy, and we have set ourselves ambitious goals, and we shall pursue them with vigor and determination. And so your presence here today brings a sense of hope to us, optimism to us. And I want to say to our friends from the UN, all of us, we are part of the UN agency, and all of us here, we contribute to the UN agencies and their work. Unfortunately, the world sees the UN only at the headquarters base in New York. And sometimes all the things and the votes which take place there, which sometimes don't make sense to many of us. And we fail to pay attention to so many of the UN agencies, all of whom are doing fantastic work around the world. And in Dominica's case, I can say to you, my dear friend, we are overly grateful to the UN agencies for the tremendous support and love and compassion that you have shown to us over these years, especially following Tropical Storm Erica, and more so after Hurricane Maria. Without the UN, I think we would have not made so much progress. And words will never be able to reflect our true appreciation and gratitude to all of you who have worked with us from the various UN agencies. And so I want to place on record publicly again our tremendous gratitude to the UN agencies. All of them, I don't wish to call out them, they all are playing their part. And we look forward to strengthening and broadening our relationship with you. And not only in Dominica's case, but we are at your disposal. Whatever we can do to advance your work in other parts of the world, Dominica stands ready to work with you and collaborate with you to bring the same level of energy and determination and collaboration to the rest of the world whom you represent and so forth. So we're very happy to have you. And to our bilateral partners, who have been so kind to us, we know too that you have your own challenges, that in every one of your countries there is poverty, there are unemployment. But because of your greater commitment to the global community and your strong advocacy and support for multilateralism, because there's no other option for the world but to go through the process of multilateralism. No country can do it alone. We are all interwoven by our challenges. And you recognize that through multilateralism, more can be achieved, and your commitment to supporting Dominica and so many countries across the world. Notwithstanding your own domestic challenges, you continue to help us. And so we are very grateful and hopeful that through our consultation today, it will assist us, all of us, to cut through the intricacies and get to the substance of our people's everyday needs. We stand ready, as always, to partner with you in good faith, to confront the trials of our time and achieve economic resilience and prosperity. And while we're here talking about our own circumstance in Dominica, it would be remiss of me not to remind us of our global commitment to our sister nation, the Republic of Haiti. Untold challenges which require the attention of all of us in this world to ensure that the people of Haiti can live in peace and safety, and that the children can attend school and be the prosperous nation that Haiti once was. I thank you very much for your presence, for your commitment, just your sheer presence here. No matter what the conclusions will be today, we appreciate your sheer presence here today. Traveling here to Dominica, and our ambassadors making time away from the busy schedules to be here today around the table with us. We're very grateful to all of you for your presence, and we look forward to very constructive, transparent, and engaging discussions today on the welfare and well-being of Dominica. Thank you very much, all of you. May God bless you. May God bless your countries and institutions.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We have actually come to an end of our official opening, so we'd like to say thank you to the media. Thanks for joining us. We will begin our working session in the next 5 minutes.
So this was the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica Development Partners Coordination meeting. On behalf of Emonews, we'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us this morning. And we do wish the government of Dominica and the UN and each and everyone involved a productive meeting today. Do have a blessed day, each and every one of you.
Okay, for a little housekeeping.